For a long time, I thought I understood what it meant to be healthy. I believed it was mostly physical, taking care of my body, staying active, eating well, keeping up with the habits that are often talked about. And in many ways, that part was true. Physical health does matter, but what I didn't realize was how incomplete that picture was. Because health, or what I now understand as vitality, isn't made up of just one part. There are multiple dimensions to it, 8 to be exact. And for a long time, I wasn't aware of most of them. I was focused on one, maybe two, without realizing how many others were shaping how I felt every day. Some of them are easy to notice. Others are quieter. They show up over time in your energy, your focus, your sense of direction, not always in obvious ways, but in how your life feels as a whole. What I began to understand is that these dimensions are always present, whether we're paying attention to them or not. And when even one of them is out of balance, it can affect everything else. Not all at once, but gradually, in ways that are easy to overlook. You might feel it in your energy, or in your ability to focus, or in your relationships, or in a general sense that something feels off, even if you can't immediately explain why. And without realizing it, it's easy to keep trying to fix things in just one area, to focus only on the physical, or only on productivity, or only on external results. But real vitality comes from a broader awareness, from understanding that your life is made up of different parts that all influence each other, each dimension contributing in its own way, each one needing attention in its own time. This isn't about perfection, and it's not about trying to control everything. It's about becoming aware, noticing what's there, recognizing which areas feel supported and which ones might need more attention, because once you see it, you start to experience your life differently. You begin to understand where your energy is coming from and where it might be getting drained, and that awareness becomes the starting point. So before going deeper into each one, it helps to simply recognize this. Vitality isn't one thing. It's the result of 8 different dimensions working together, and understanding them is where that shift begins. The first dimension is physical vitality. This is the one most people are familiar with. It's how we take care of the body, the physical foundation we move through life in every day. Physical vitality includes how you move, how you nourish yourself, and how well you allow your body to rest. It's often associated with exercise and nutrition, and those are part of it, but it goes beyond routines and habits. It's about how your body actually feels, your energy levels, your strength, your ability to recover. It shows up in the way you start your day, whether you feel rested or already fatigued. It shows up in how your body responds to stress, whether you feel tension building or whether your body is able to regulate and settle. It's also in the signals your body gives you, subtle cues like fatigue, tightness, or a lack of energy, and whether those signals are noticed or pushed aside. Many people learn to override those signals, to keep going, to stay productive, to push through. And over time, that can create a disconnect, where the body is speaking but not being listened to. Physical vitality is about rebuilding that connection, paying attention to what your body needs, and responding to it with consistency, not perfectly, but intentionally. It's not about extremes. It's not about doing more. It's about supporting your body in a way that allows it to function well over time. Because when your physical vitality is supported, everything else becomes more accessible. Your focus, your mood, your ability to engage with other areas of your life. And when it's not, it can quietly affect everything else. That's why this dimension matters, not on its own, but as part of the whole. The next dimension is emotional vitality. This is about how you relate to your emotions. and how aware you are of what you're feeling. Emotional vitality isn't about always feeling good. It's not about avoiding difficult emotions or trying to stay positive all the time. It's about being able to recognize what you feel as it's happening, to notice emotions as they come up without immediately reacting to them or pushing them away. Emotions are a natural part of being human. They shift, they change, and they often carry information, but many people learn to ignore them, to suppress them, or move past them quickly, sometimes without even realizing it. Over time, that can create distance, where emotions are still there, but no longer clearly understood. Emotional vitality is about closing that gap, becoming more aware of what you're feeling, and allowing those feelings to be acknowledged, not judged, not resisted, just noticed. It also involves how you respond, whether your reactions feel automatic or whether there is space to pause. That space matters because it creates the ability to respond in a way that's more intentional instead of reactive. Emotional vitality also shows up in how you process experiences, whether things are carried forward or worked through over time. When this dimension is supported, there is often a greater sense of clarity, a better understanding of yourself, and how you respond to the world around you. And when it's not, emotions can feel overwhelming, or disconnected, or difficult to navigate. This isn't about controlling emotions. It's about understanding them and creating space to experience them in a way that feels steady and grounded, because your emotional state influences every part of your life: how you think, how you relate to others, and how you move through your day. That's why emotional vitality is an essential part of the whole. The next dimension is social vitality. This is about the connections you have with other people and the role those relationships play in your life. Social vitality isn't about the number of people you know. It's not about being constantly surrounded by others or always being social. It's about the quality of your connections, the people you feel comfortable with, the people you can be yourself around, and the people who support you in meaningful ways. It also includes how you show up in those relationships, how you communicate, how you listen, and how present you are when you're with others. Social vitality can be seen in small moments, in conversations that feel genuine, in time spent together without distraction, in feeling understood, and being able to understand others. It also includes a sense of belonging, feeling connected, not isolated, not distant, but part of something. At the same time, it's not about constant interaction. There's also a balance, knowing when to connect and when to take space. Healthy relationships allow for both. When social vitality is supported, relationships tend to feel steady and meaningful. There is a sense of connection without pressure, and when it's not, it can show up as loneliness, disconnection, or relationships that feel strained. Sometimes, it's not about having more people in your life. It's about strengthening the connections that already exist, being more present, more aware, and more intentional in how you relate to others, because the people around you influence how you experience your life, and the quality of those connections shapes how supported and how connected you feel. That's why social vitality is an important part of the whole. The next dimension is occupational vitality. This relates to the work you do and how it fits into your life. Occupational vitality isn't only about having a job, it's about how you experience the work you're involved in, whether that's a career, a role, or the responsibilities you take on each day. It includes the sense of purpose you feel in what you do, whether your work feels meaningful or whether it feels disconnected from you. It also shows up in how you spend your time and energy, the tasks you focus on, the environment you work in, and the expectations placed on you. Occupational vitality can be felt in how you start your day, whether there is a sense of direction or a sense of resistance. It can be seen in your level of engagement, whether you feel present in your work or simply going through the motions. It also includes balance, how your work fits alongside the rest of your life, whether there is space for other areas or whether work begins to take over. When occupational vitality is supported, there is often a sense of alignment. What you do and how you spend your time feels connected to what matters to you. There may still be challenges, but there is a sense of direction within them. And when it's not, work can feel draining, unclear, or disconnected from your sense of purpose. Sometimes, it's not about changing everything at once. It's about becoming aware of how your work is affecting you, noticing where it feels aligned and where it might need adjustment. Because the way you spend your time each day has a lasting impact. And when your work supports your well-being, instead of working against it, everything else becomes easier to sustain. That's why occupational vitality is an important part of the whole. The next dimension is intellectual vitality. This relates to how you use your mind and how you engage with learning and new ideas. Intellectual vitality isn't about knowing everything. It's not about constant productivity or always trying to achieve more. It's about staying mentally engaged, being open to learning, to thinking, and to seeing things from different perspectives. It shows up in curiosity, the willingness to ask questions, to explore, and to understand things more deeply. It also includes how you challenge your thinking, whether you remain open to new information or stay fixed in familiar patterns. Intellectual vitality can be seen in everyday moments, in what you choose to focus on, what you spend your time learning, and how you process information. It's in the conversations you have, the ideas you consider, and the way you reflect on experiences. It also involves mental stimulation, giving your mind opportunities to grow rather than staying in repetition. When intellectual vitality is supported, there is often a sense of clarity. Your thinking feels more organized, more flexible, and more aware. There is space to reflect and to adapt when needed, and when it's not. Thinking can feel stagnant or unfocused or limited to the same patterns. Sometimes, it's not about doing more. It's about engaging differently, being more intentional with what you take in and how you think about it. Because your mind shapes how you interpret your experiences and how you respond to the world around you. And when it is supported, it allows you to grow, adapt, and stay connected to new possibilities. That's why intellectual vitality is an important part of the whole. The next dimension is environmental vitality. This relates to the spaces you spend your time in and how those spaces affect your well-being. Environmental vitality isn't just about where you live. It includes your home, your work environment, and the places you move through each day. It's about how those environments feel, whether they support you or create stress without you fully noticing. It can be seen in simple things: the amount of light in a space, the level of noise, the level of order or clutter, the way a space is arranged, and how easy it is to move through it. It also includes the broader environment, the air you breathe, the natural surroundings around you, and your connection to outdoor spaces. Environmental vitality shows up in how you respond to these surroundings, whether you feel calm, focused, and supported, or whether you feel distracted, drained, or unsettled. Often, these effects are subtle. They build over time. A space that feels heavy or disorganized can gradually affect your energy, while a space that feels open and supportive can make things feel easier. Environmental vitality is about awareness, noticing how your surroundings influence you and making adjustments where possible, not all at once and not perfectly, but in small ways that improve how your space supports you, because your environment is something you interact with constantly, even when you're not thinking about it. And when your surroundings are aligned with your needs, they can support your focus, your energy, and your sense of ease. That's why environmental vitality is an important part of the whole. The next dimension is financial vitality. This relates to your relationship with money and the level of stability it provides in your life. Financial vitality isn't about having a specific amount. It's not about comparison or measuring success against others. It's about how secure and how supported you feel in your current situation. It includes how you manage your resources, how you earn, how you spend, and how you plan over time. It also shows up in your awareness, whether you have a clear understanding of your finances or whether things feel uncertain or unclear. Financial vitality can be felt in everyday life, in how you approach decisions, in how much stress or ease you experience, and in how much flexibility you have. It also influences your sense of stability, whether you feel prepared or whether there is ongoing pressure. For many people, this area can carry tension, not always because of the numbers themselves, but because of uncertainty or lack of clarity. Financial vitality is about building that clarity, understanding where you are and what your situation requires. It's also about creating a sense of structure so that your finances support your life instead of creating constant stress. This doesn't happen all at once, and it doesn't require perfection. It begins with awareness and small, consistent steps. When financial vitality is supported, there is often a greater sense of ease. Decisions feel more manageable, and the future feels less uncertain. And when it's not, it can affect your focus, your energy, and your sense of stability. Because financial health touches many parts of life, and when it is more stable, it allows other areas to feel more supported as well. That's why financial vitality is an important part of the whole. The final dimension is spiritual vitality. This relates to your sense of meaning, your values, and your connection to the Creator. Spiritual vitality is about recognizing that your life is connected to something greater than yourself, a source, a creator, that gives life context and direction. It's not about having everything figured out, and it's not about following something perfectly. It's about that awareness that there is more than just the visible parts of life, that your actions, your choices, and your path are connected to something deeper. Spiritual vitality includes your values, the principles that guide how you live, how you treat others, and how you make decisions. And often, those values are shaped by your connection to the Creator. It also shows up in moments of reflection, when you pause, step back, and consider what truly matters, not just in the moment, but over time. It can be felt in stillness, in a sense of grounding, even when things feel uncertain, and in a quiet sense of trust, that you are not moving through life alone, and that there is meaning behind your experience. For some, this connection feels strong and consistent. For others, it may feel distant at times, but it is always present. Spiritual vitality is about becoming aware of that connection and returning to it, not perfectly, but intentionally. When this dimension is supported, there is often a clearer sense of direction. Life feels more aligned with what matters most. Decisions feel more grounded and less uncertain. And when it's not, it can feel like something is missing. A lack of meaning, or a sense of disconnection from what truly matters. Spiritual vitality isn't about having all the answers, it's about staying connected and allowing that connection to the Creator to guide how you live over time. Because when that connection is present, everything else begins to feel more grounded. That's why spiritual vitality is an essential part of the whole, and what brings a sense of ease and what begins to feel like resistance. And instead of ignoring those signals, you begin to listen. Not perfectly, but more consistently. And that consistency begins to shift things. Slowly, quietly, but meaningfully. You begin to make small changes, not because you have to, but because you see the value in them. You begin to choose differently in moments that once felt automatic. You pause where you once reacted and step back where you once pushed forward. You give attention to what you may have overlooked before, and over time, these small choices begin to build. They begin to shape a different rhythm, a different way of moving through your life, one that feels more intentional, more aligned, and more connected. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are more aware. And that awareness continues to guide you. It helps you recognize when something is out of balance, not as a failure, but as information. Something to be understood, something to be adjusted, something to be brought back into alignment. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Not something you have to force, but something that begins to feel familiar, like returning to something that was always there. A steadiness that does not depend on everything going right. A clarity that is not easily disrupted. A sense of direction that feels grounded. And from that place, your choices begin to reflect that alignment, not all at once, but over time, in the way you care for your body, manage your energy, and engage with others, in the way you create space for what truly matters. And as those choices continue, they begin to reinforce each other, creating a kind of momentum, a quiet consistency that supports you and carries you forward, not with force, but with intention. And as this becomes more integrated, you may begin to notice something else, a shift in how you relate to your life as a whole, less fragmentation, less separation between the different parts, and more of a sense that everything is connected, working together, influencing each other, and supporting each other. And in that connection, there is a different kind of strength, not rigid, not forced, but steady, adaptable, responsive, able to adjust without losing direction. And that is where real vitality continues to grow. Not in isolated efforts, but in the way everything comes together. In the way each dimension is acknowledged, cared for, and given the space to function as it should. This is not something that happens overnight. It develops through awareness, through intention, and through consistent attention over time. And as it develops, you begin to trust the process. You begin to trust that small adjustments matter, that awareness matters, and that how you respond matters. And that trust creates a different relationship with your life, one that is less reactive, more intentional, less scattered, and more aligned. And from that place, you continue forward, refining, adjusting, and strengthening what is already present in your life. One step at a time, one moment at a time, one dimension at a time. There is no need to rush forward. Just allow this moment to carry through. As you continue to reflect, you may begin to notice something. When you begin to look at your life through these different dimensions, things start to come into focus. As you move through your life in this way, something subtle begins to change. It is not just what you do, but how you experience what you do. There is less urgency and less pressure to have everything figured out. There is also more space to notice what is happening. You can observe what is present and allow things to be as they are. You can respond with greater clarity. You begin to realize that not everything requires immediate action. Some things simply require awareness, a moment of pause, a willingness to see what is actually there, without rushing to fix it, without judging it, without turning it into something it does not need to be. And in that space, something important begins to happen. You begin to understand yourself in a deeper way, not just through your thoughts, but through your patterns, through your tendencies, through the ways you move through your days. You begin to notice what drains your energy and what restores it, and what brings a sense of ease and what begins to feel like resistance. And instead of ignoring those signals, you begin to listen, not perfectly, but more consistently. And that consistency begins to shift things, slowly, quietly, but meaningfully. You begin to make small changes, not because you have to, but because you see the value in them. You begin to choose differently in moments that once felt automatic. You pause where you once reacted and step back where you once pushed forward. You give attention to what you may have overlooked before, and over time, these small choices begin to build. They begin to shape a different rhythm, a different way of moving through your life, one that feels more intentional, more aligned, and more connected. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are more aware. And that awareness continues to guide you. It helps you recognize when something is out of balance, not as a failure, but as information. Something to be understood, something to be adjusted, something to be brought back into alignment. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Not something you have to force, but something that begins to feel familiar, like returning to something that was always there. A steadiness that does not depend on everything going right. A clarity that is not easily disrupted. A sense of direction that feels grounded. And from that place, your choices begin to reflect that alignment, not all at once, but over time, in the way you care for your body, manage your energy, and engage with others, in the way you create space for what truly matters. And as those choices continue, they begin to reinforce each other, creating a kind of momentum, a quiet consistency that supports you and carries you forward, not with force, but with intention. And as this becomes more integrated, you may begin to notice something else, a shift in how you relate to your life as a whole, less fragmentation, less separation between the different parts, and more of a sense that everything is connected, working together, influencing each other, and supporting each other. And in that connection, there is a different kind of strength, not rigid, not forced, but steady, adaptable, responsive, able to adjust without losing direction. And that is where real vitality continues to grow. Not in isolated efforts, but in the way everything comes together. In the way each dimension is acknowledged, cared for, and given the space to function as it should. This is not something that happens overnight. It develops through awareness, through intention, and through consistent attention over time. And as it develops, you begin to trust the process. You begin to trust that small adjustments matter, that awareness matters, and that how you respond matters. And that trust creates a different relationship with your life, one that is less reactive, more intentional, less scattered, and more aligned. And from that place, you continue forward, refining, adjusting, and strengthening what is already present in your life. One step at a time, one moment at a time, one dimension at a time.